In this video, we're going to be building a full-stack AI-enabled cross-platform mobile application using React Native. And some of the different services that we're going to be using are OpenAI ChatGPT, as well as OpenAI Assistants. We're also going to be using other large language models like Cohere and Cohere Web, which is pretty cool because it enables you to go out on the web, get results, and incorporate those in the results, as well as Anthropic. And Anthropic Claude is very similar to ChatGPT, has a 200,000 token window. A lot of people like it better than ChatGPT. Some people say it's good for certain things, but not for other things. And then finally, we're going to also be using Fal.ai. And this is a service provider that allows you to interact with image models. So text to image, as well as image to image, and a lot of other stuff. And we're going to be using about 5 different models. And the way that we're going to be building this is using a framework that I built and developed called React Native AI. React Native AI is essentially just a framework that puts together all of the things that you're going to need, both on the front end, on the mobile app, as well as the server, to make all this stuff work together. A lot of the stuff that you have to deal with and building these types of applications becomes a little bit tedious and complex. So for instance, dealing with streaming, you want to have the responses coming back in real time from the LLM. So you might have noticed if you use ChatGPT, you don't wait for the entire response to come back. It starts streaming back in these chunks. Also dealing with images, uploading and downloading images and dealing with all that stuff. Again, a little bit tedious, and not having to deal with all that stuff is pretty nice. So what React Native AI is a framework that kind of does all this stuff, and you can use it and then take the pieces that you would like and build out your own applications. I think most of the time people are going to be creating a new React Native AI app and then ripping out different pieces and kind of focusing on just the pieces that they need. But everything's already there, again, both on the client as well as the server. And it's important to have a server in this case, in these applications, because you don't want to be storing your API keys on the client. They need to be securely stored on the server somewhere as an environment variable. And what you'll typically do in production is have some type of authentication mechanism, and then you'll be able to kind of rate limit or provide some type of ways to prevent maybe DDoS attacks and stuff like that. But at least you have a secure server where all of this stuff is being served from. So with that being said, this is going to be a pretty short video because most of the code is written. We're just going to spin up a new app. We're going to walk through some of it, and we're going to test it out. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the terminal and start writing some code. So here I am in a completely new terminal window, and what I'm going to do is run npx rn-ai. Now, what this is going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and go to the GitHub repo here. And this is where React Native AI lives. I'm going to be linking to it in the comments. And this is kind of some of what the UI will look like. And these are kind of the features laid out here. LLM support, like I mentioned, different image models, real-time streaming, OpenAI Assistants, the server proxy. We also have theming. So what you can do is either let your users choose their theme, or you could kind of configure your own theme and then remove that setting so you have like your own design that no one else has. Maybe change out the logo, whatever you would like. So this is kind of the command that you'll just run, npx rn-ai. This will walk you through a few steps. And in our case, it's going to prompt us for the OpenAI API key as well as the other API keys. Again, one more thing I want to show you. There's a launch post that kind of dives into this stuff on my Substack. I'll also link to that in the comments. But here we're going to run npx rn-ai. For the app name, you can choose your own app name, or you can just take the default rn-ai. Next, you can either configure your environment variables now, or you can do so later. I'm going to go ahead and choose yes. And then here, I'm going to go into the different dashboards and start setting up my API keys. So I'm going to go ahead and create new secret keys for this tutorial. And then I'll just delete these later because they're going to be visible to you for the file. And I have all of the links, by the way, for these different services in the GitHub. But you can just Google OpenAI if you don't already have that. You can Google Fal.ai if you don't already have an API key with them. And really, you don't actually have to set up all these API keys, by the way. You can start with just OpenAI and Fal, because those are going to be kind of giving you both the image as well as the large language model stuff without needing to also add Anthropic and Cohere. But in this case, in this tutorial, we're going to be adding all of them. So I will call this the same thing, RNAi tutorial. Create this key, copy it to my clipboard, drop it here. Anthropic API key. And also, it looks like I've linked to all these different consoles here if you need to get links to where this stuff is. So I'm going to go create an API key. And then finally, I'll go here to Cohere. And then byte scale for one or two of the different image models. I guess I'll go ahead and sign in real quick. All right, so this is going to go ahead and initialize the project here locally. And when that's done, you should be able to change into the new directory and see that we have an app and a server. So what I'll do is split my windows, and I'll change into the app, and I'll change into the server directories. And to kick the application off, I can go into the server and run npm run dev, or yarn dev or bun dev, whatever you would like. And then here in the app directory, I can run npm start and press I to open this up in the iOS simulator. And this will install Expo Go if it's not already installed. And then it should go ahead and build the app and launch it. And this is where we are. This is what we have here. So we have a couple of different screens. We have one for chat, and then we have the button here that can configure the different model. We have GPT-4, GPT Turbo, Claude Instant, Cohere, and Cohere Web. We have the OpenAI Assistant. This is cool because we can actually upload files to for both code interpreter as well as retrieval. We can even create our own custom assistant with our own instructions. In the images, we have different image models that we can work with here in the settings. Also in the settings here, we have dark theme, Hacker News theme, light theme, Miami, and Vercel. You can actually change these themes very easily, and we're going to take a look at that in just a moment. You can also change the language models here. So I might start with GPT Turbo. And then for the image models, we have fast image, which is LCM, which is a super fast response. We have stable diffusion XL, which is a high quality stable diffusion model. We have the ability to remove backgrounds, upscale. And then we have illusion diffusion, which is pretty cool. It takes these different designs here and kind of creates images that have that pattern. You've probably seen this. Maybe we can test it out. So anyway, so we're on ChatGPT Turbo. I'm going to go ahead and put in a prompt. And what I'll say is something like summarize 3-body problem book, which is one of my favorite books. And you'll see that this comes back as a stream. So what we might want to do now is take a look at some of this code to see how this is all working. So I'll go ahead and open up the app, both the app and the server directory here. So on the server, we have these different routes. We have the chat route, which is for all of these LLMs. And we have the images route, which is for the images. And then the rest are essentially like helper functions, and we have a route for uploading files. But I think the most interesting thing might be for us to take a look at the different chat routes to see how this is working. And what we're doing is using the event source API, and this will essentially keep like a streaming response open through the client and send these updates as they come through. The way that we do that is they have like an SDK that you could use, but I like just using HTTP. And here we go ahead and set the content type as event stream. We call the API by setting stream to true. And then we take the response.body and we call .getReader. And then we use the reader and check to see if reader.read essentially returns a response. If it does, then we do this stuff. If it doesn't, meaning it's done, we break out of this, and then we response.write done. And this on the client will close the connection. So the connection will be open at this point. And while this is true, we're going to be breaking down this response that's coming in from the value here, and kind of like essentially calling JSON.parse on it and getting the data that we need out of it. And as you can see, it's a little bit tedious. There's some code that checks to see if the JSON.parse is broken, meaning that we can't actually parse that. So we need to kind of like aggregate that. If JSON.parse works, we essentially take the data that we need out and send it to the client by calling response.write and then sending the data in the proper format. I don't like writing all this code, so that's kind of why I put this here so I can use it later. And I might just go in here, copy and paste this in the future on the server when I need to rewrite something custom, or for a mobile app, I can just use this framework, obviously. And it's interesting because Cohere and Claude are similar, but the response coming back is different. And I think the response coming back from Cohere was a lot easier to work with. Here you can see that we do a lot less work to return the response for Cohere, and Claude is similar to GPT. We're doing a little bit more work there. And the data is different. So, you can't use the exact same code across all three. So this kind of normalizes the response coming back to the client. So if we go to something like Cohere Web, we might be able to ask it like, what are the best new restaurants in Chelsea, New York? Now, this would not be something that Anthropic or ChatGPT could respond with, because this is going to be scraping the web for relevant information. But Cohere Web actually can get that information, which is really cool. So that's why I included it here. I think it's something cool to offer, and giving users possibly the ability to kind of choose between them is nice. It also has this button here where you can copy to the clipboard the response there, or you can clear your chat, which is a nice little feature, I think. I'm not going to go through Anthropic Claude. It's basically the same as ChatGPT, but it's really nice. It's one of my favorites. So these are my three top favorites, probably the three most popular ones with all people maybe. For the Assistants API, this is also something that is a little bit tedious. So with ChatGPT and basically all these other LLMs, you just have this one endpoint where you are calling something like, in this case, Anthropic /v1/complete, and then getting a response and then streaming that back. But with Assistants, we can go to the documentation here on Assistants, and you'll see that it's a lot more complex. You first create an assistant with one endpoint, then you create a thread with another endpoint, then you add a message to a thread, and then you run the assistant, then you check the status, and then you get the response back after the status has been complete, and then you render that. So all these steps you have to take, and you have to do them like in the right order for this to work, which was super annoying to deal with. But it's nice to have all of that kind of abstracted away here by just calling a single function. Well, actually, there's like two functions maybe on the app that you'll be calling. But what I might ask is something like summarize this document. And then I might upload something. Let's see if I have any documents here. All right, there we go. I'm going to use this migration plan, which is something that we're doing at Lens protocol for V2, which has already happened. And I'll just drop that here, and you'll see that the document name kind of shows up, which is pretty cool. And we can go ahead and click chat. And this is going to upload, kind of like decode this document, and then hopefully summarize it. All right, here we see that the response came back. It looks like I have some CSS to work on here, or some styling to work on to make this, I believe, is showing up white background with white text because it is code or something like that. So let me change the theme and just see if it's readable now. Yeah, so I just need to fix that. I'll go ahead and push an update for that. For the, I guess the Vercel theme is what we're working on. But you'll see that the response came back in one big chunk. That's because assistants don't support streaming quite yet, but they will soon. And we can clear the chat. And you can also just, use this without the documents. So you can, again, add instructions like you are a blah, blah, blah. And then you might say, summarize 3-body problem trilogy and 50 words or less. And then this should come back, a lot faster than dealing with the document upload, but it still isn't streaming. Now for images, what we have set right now is, let's go ahead and set fast image, and I'll just say 3-headed dragon or something like that. This should come back pretty quickly compared to a lot of the other models. So that came back pretty fast. You can click here, save or clear the prompts. If we go to Illusion Diffusion, we can click the design that we want to work with, and we can say something like artisanal village on the Italian Riviera, year 1300. And just see what that comes back with. But it should come back with the design looking like a chessboard or whatever. That's pretty cool. If we go to, that actually looked pretty nice. If we go to Fal, it's pretty cool because you can actually go to their model registry here and play around with all the different image models. So the one that we just used was called Illusion Diffusion here. And you can just like click whichever one that you want to work with, click run. It'll already have like a basic prompt that you can use that's already kind of there. You can change the prompt here. And then the other thing that you can do is actually upload your own custom image. So if you want to kind of like use a different image, you can do that. Also, you can do that in my app or in the boilerplate that we're using in this framework. Okay, cool. So that's a couple of the different image models. The other image model that we might take a look at is, let's see here, Stable Diffusion XL. This is just a nice text or natural language to image. We'll also try the same prompt we did before, 3-headed dragon. The quality of this one might come back a little nicer than this one because it's not optimized for speed. It's just optimized for quality. It's just different, I guess. But if we went into more description, I think this is a better model in terms of the response that comes back. We could also remove the background of images. Here you would just choose an image to upload. Here I'll choose an image. I'll upload one of like me and my wife here. I'll click remove background. And there we go. The background came back, removed. So the last thing we might want to do is add like our own custom theme. So if I go to the React Native AI docs and I go here to theming, you can see that I showed like how to add a new theme. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this theme. It's like a Christmas theme. And I'm going to go over to the app directory and I'm going to open src/theme.ts. And here you can kind of see all the themes. We have light theme, dark theme, and all of the themes that you saw. Some of these themes are like extending an existing theme, and that's kind of a simple way just to inherit some of the other styles. So I'm going to extend the light theme for Christmas. I'm going to give it a name and a label, and then I'm going to give it like a tint color, which is going to be like the main color as well as like a text color. And then I'll just export that. So I'll go ahead and do Christmas, and then I'm going to go ahead and open this back up, and you'll see now we have the Christmas theme. And if I select that, then we now have a new theme. So that's simple to add a new theme. You can obviously make even more adjustments if you go into my code and find something you want to change. You can change the font family. By default, I'm using Geist, but if you want to use a different one, all you have to do is update this fonts here. And I think that's about it. The one thing I would say, if you want to kind of optimize this for your own use case, you might just rip out or rename some of these different routes or redo the nav in any way. And you could just kind of maintain the screens, which are in this screens directory. So you have chat. Let's say that you don't want all of these models. You want to just use a few, maybe just one model. Let's say you want to only use Cohere or GPT. You can actually go into constants, and here we have the definition of the models as well as the image models. So I should be able to just maybe, let's go ahead and set this to GPT Turbo and then delete these models. And then now when I open up the settings, I only have 2 models to choose from. And then you might, redo the styling on this modal here to make it a little bit better for this number of options. If I go in there and I add the models back, then they now show up again. Same thing with settings. When you update this here, the settings should just update with the models. So now we only have 2 models there. So this is kind of where the settings would be. And then the illusion diffusion images are just these images here. Okay, that's about it. If you want to learn more, check out the GitHub repo, try it out. If you have any updates you want to send, or if you have any comments or features that you'd like, please submit a pull request. I'm going to link to everything here in the comments. Thank you for checking out this video. If you want to support me, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video, and star the GitHub repo. Follow me on Substack, and check out my next video that should be coming up soon. Thank you.